Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. On today's episode, we'll talk with Variety's Daniel D'Addario about his latest cover story. He stepped into the ring to capture the backstory of the Smashing Machine and the story of Dwayne Johnson's metamorphosis as an actor. Marc Malkin brings us a Just for Variety red carpet rundown with one and only George Clooney, and Todd Longwell makes the business case for why business managers are important for people in entertainment. We get a little help on that also from Larry David, as Variety gets ready to host our annual Business Managers Breakfast event on Thursday in West Hollywood. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Disney has extended the employment contract for Chief Financial Officer Hugh Johnston. Johnston has won a lot of fans inside the Mouse House since he joined the company in December 2023. Kevin Riley has joined the AI firm Cartel as CEO. He won't be the last veteran TV or film executive to be recruited by tech firms that really need understanding and insight into the creative process. Country stars Morgan Wallen and Eric Church want to go fishing. They've partnered with Outdoor America to launch Field and Stream TV. They intend to launch fast channels as well as a broadcast network. That's a counterintuitive choice for 2026, but we'll stay tuned. R.I.P. Cleto Escobedo III. Jimmy Kimmel delivered a heartfelt tribute to his band leader on last night's show. I did not know that they were childhood friends. Play on, Cleto. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. Now we turn to conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in showbiz. Next up, we'll hear from Variety chief correspondent Daniel D'Addario about his coverage of the Smashing Machine. It's the story of resilience, of roads not taken, and of the beautiful and boisterous friendship of Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt. Dan D'Addario, thank you for coming back to talk about your latest cover story, Triumph, and I do mean triumph.
Well, thanks for having me. And triumph is an interesting word. The piece concerns itself with a trajectory that's been very up and down, and looking forward to the future, where triumphs may lay ahead.
Listeners, run to Variety.com or pick up your November 12th print edition, our precious print edition that we love so much. Beautiful photography that accompanies, just really helps paint the picture of Dwayne Johnson. He is not an underexposed personality. He is out there all the time. And to your credit, Dan, I learned so much from your story. I learned a lot about him, a lot about The Smashing Machine, the A24 movie that is a biopic of MMA fighter Mark Kerr. To profile somebody who is recognizable around the world, that's tough, because what can you bring to it? Tell me how you approached the assignment of profiling Dwayne Johnson at this Smashing Machine moment of his career.
So I think, to set the scene, when I set out to interview him, the film hadn't come out yet, and we had booked the cover for about a month and a half after its release date. The thinking was, as I remember explaining to him, to Benny Safdie, his director, and to Emily Blunt, his co-star, was that we believed the film would have a long life in theaters. It's a classic crowd pleaser. In the piece, I compare it to Rocky. There are elements of it that are more artsy and experimental than Rocky, but the upshot is we thought it was going to hit really big. And so I set out to just kind of tell the complete story of the film, how it was made, how it came together. As it was released, it became clear that audiences weren't seeking it out. It's the kind of movie that maybe audiences don't go to the theater for anymore. It was one of several films this fall. Roofman, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, star-driven movies that have themes for grown-ups and are artistically ambitious. People are willing to wait for VOD. And so it became something that we felt we needed to reckon with in the story, not because it's a historic bomb, it's not, but this story concerns the entire journey of the film, how it changed Johnson as an actor, and like any good fighter knows, it's all about how you get up after being knocked out.
You can't spin it It was a pretty devastating opening, especially for Dwayne Johnson, who is used to being higher up the box office charts than that. It's one of those, there's a grand canyon of divide between the critical reception coming out of festivals. To your credit as a journalist and to his credit as a subject, you got back on the phone. And so the story really does have scope to it because you sat down well before its release and then you connected with him again after the release.
Whatever happens with this film, whoever sees it, he believes it will endure not just on its own terms as a well-made film that tells an interesting story that deserves to be seen, but as a turning point for him as an artist. This is really far and away the biggest swing he's taken as an actor. He is known for franchise fare. He is Mr. Hollywood. He is the man you plug into a franchise film and you know precisely what you're getting. The attitude, the swagger, the humor, the wit, and that's carried him well. So to go outside that comfort zone was genuinely scary. He really needed to be encouraged by his co-star, Emily Blunt, with whom he was already close friends. They made a Disney film about 5 years ago. And she said, you're not serving your audience if you don't show them a side of yourself. So those who do see the film, and I think it will get a second life on VOD and on streaming, those who do see it will see a much more vulnerable Dwayne Johnson. And I think that's a good look on him. And so I give him all the credit in the world, not just for being a gracious interview subject, but for admitting to the fact that doing this was really scary. And now that he has done it, he sees the rewards of playing a character as his full self, not just as a version of his own image.
The story of an MMA fighter who went through, forgive me, but one battle after another and was resilient. There's a world where Dwayne Johnson, former professional wrestler, if his career had taken a different turn, I have to ask you about the setting for your interview. You paint a picture, the two of you sitting in a boxing ring.
Yeah, so they had done the photo shoot and the video in a boxing gym in order to conjure the mood of authenticity, of Hollywood glamour, of superstars up against the grit and patina of gym where people have been sweating it out for decades. It was gnarly. It was a real boxing gym. In order to get into the ring, I had to climb over the ropes, and I was an English major. I'm not a fighter. And so I tripped and fell, and Johnson caught me by the arm. And I was just like, that's why he's Dwayne Johnson and I'm me. It really conjured a certain mood. In order for me to use my recorder to tape the interview, we had to turn the fans off. And so we're sitting there sweating under the lights. It felt like I was in the 8th round. It really put me right in the mindset. And the person who loved it most of all was the director, Benny Safdie, who is an absolute stickler for authenticity. He informed me that when they shot, they didn't use purpose-built sets. They used real MMA gyms, even though that made it more challenging to shoot. He wanted that same patina, that same texture, and that same feeling of life.
Every bit of that comes through in your story. I felt like I could smell the gym's surroundings. And the other thing that is absolutely delicious is the relationship between Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson.
They are true friends. As Emily Blunt remarked in an aside when they were promoting the film Jungle Cruise, Disney wanted to pull the plug on their interviews because, as she put it lightly, we were so inappropriate. They're just the best buds. They really, really get along great. And it's evident that it took an Emily Blunt, which is to say someone Johnson likes and respects and understands to be serious about her craft in the same way he's always been serious about entertaining people. It took her to convince him to take this risk. She's fantastic in the film as well. She said she kind of put the pieces together, but she didn't know if she was going to be cast in it and didn't want to nose her way in, but she was cast, and they bring wonderful things out of each other in this portrait of a very complicated relationship.
When Mary Poppins comes to you and gives you some advice, you're probably pretty wise to take it. No movie backstory is the same, none. And you have captured this one. We'll watch in a couple of years. This will be one of those movies that is on a perpetual loop on streaming. Dan, as always, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And now here's Marc Malkin with the Just for Variety Red Carpet Rundown.
Thanks, Cynthia. George Clooney is getting candid about AI. I spoke to the Oscar winner Tuesday night on the red carpet at the premiere of his new Netflix film, Jay Kelly. I asked him for his reaction to the new Variety interview with the creator of Tilly Norwood. She told our Gene Mattis that full AI films are coming sooner than later.
The thing that really rattled the Hollywood in general was the Sora 2 stuff. That shook everybody because suddenly the quality was much better and it's scary. But AI is going to have the same problem that we have in Hollywood, which is making a star is not so easy. You can't really describe what makes someone a star.
Right.
And it's not, it's not looks, and it's something unusual, and it's hard to detect. They'll have the same problems that we have.
I asked Clooney about seeing unauthorized AI generated videos of himself online.
There's been some really actually awful ones where they've done and said things that I've never done and said, and put me up there. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous for your family. Yeah, it's dangerous. So yes, it's complicated, but the genie's out of the bottle. I'm not quite sure what you're going to do.
For more of my chat with Clooney and his co-stars, including Adam Sandler, check out my column just for Variety at variety.com.
And finally, let's get down to business managers. Our annual list of high-flying players is also published in our November 12th print edition and on Variety.com. Todd Longwell, Variety's legal and finance features editor, puts the whole thing together. He explains the unique role that business managers play for high net worth individuals as well as not so high net worth people. But first, a great example of what a good business manager can mean to the life of an artist. Here's a clip of Larry David of Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm fame speaking at last year's Business Managers Breakfast, where he gave his longtime representative quite a tribute.
All right. It was May 1984. I had just moved back to New York from Los Angeles because I'd gotten a writing job on SNL. I was standing outside the Improv when I was approached by some guy with black horn-rimmed glasses who looked like an accountant. Anyway, he introduced himself as Matt Lichtenberg and said he'd love to get together to discuss becoming my business manager. My business manager. I told him I didn't really need a business manager. I didn't have a business, and there was no money to manage. But he was obnoxiously insistent that we meet, so we shook hands and made it official. Then in a few months, the SNL season was over, and I was out of a job. For the next 4 years, I didn't earn a penny. Matt continued to pay the bills, file my taxes, and to earn nothing doing it. Nothing. I started to feel badly about it. I told him he was crazy. Believe me, there's nothing here. He said, I'll take my chances. A month later, I wrote the pilot for Seinfeld.
And now, Todd Longwell gives us the rundown of this year's section and why Phil Sarna is this year's honoree. 2 words, Chapel Roan. Todd Longwell, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Todd, you have come to the end of a very big project for Variety, our Business Managers Elite List. This is one of the great sections that we do that shines a big spotlight on a niche area of the business. It's a specialized service, but it is super, super important to all those high net worth individuals that work in entertainment and those that are aspiring to join the high net worth crowd. The business manager is a distinct service, different from a lawyer or an agent or accountant. So let me start by asking you, Todd, what are the essential qualities of a good business manager?
Well, they like to say they're the CFO of their clients' lives. They handle a lot of different things. They make sure they pay their taxes. They make sure they have long-term planning for their lives. They help them buy houses. They help them buy cars. They help them sometimes hire and fire household staff or personal staff. But as they say, it's not just about money. Anyone can add and subtract, and especially with all the software tools we have today, they can handle the money part of it. It's also about dealing with them as kind of a money therapist. So a lot of what they do is actually counseling. And someone said, "Oh, my husband asked me, what hat did you have on today? Were the accountant, the therapist, or the parent?" Because it really is not just about dollars and cents. It's also about the psychology.
Tell me about Phil Sarna. He's our choice for Business Manager Elite this year for recognition. Todd, what made Phil Sarna rise to the level of getting this recognition?
Well, he is one of the top business managers in the music end of it. And he has Billie Eilish, he has Lizzo, he has Chappell Roan, he has Benson Boone with his firm. And that's a pretty hip list. When you talk to business managers, the common wisdom is the two hardest clients to have are musicians and athletes. The biggest reasons are that they tend to have short careers. The money comes all at once when they're young. They often can be living in a culture where spending and lavish lifestyles are the norm. It's tough to even get them to sit down and understand how their contract works, and like that advance of yours is a loan is recoupable.
Any list that we do gets a lot of lobbying. What kind of lobbying do you get on behalf of business managers? I'm curious.
Well, business managers a little easier than the others because you have to basically, and get in our site, they have to have good clients. And even if I can't publish them, I usually like to say I need submissible evidence.
Well, Todd, I appreciate you taking the time to talk us through this, how the list is built, how the sausage is made. And listeners, I just want you to know that Todd Longwell has one of the coolest framed movie posters of anybody in the LA office of Variety. It is the poster of The Day of the Locust. And those that know that is so telling right now for the Hollywood that we are covering.
Thank you, Cynthia.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. The trailer is out for the controversial new documentary Elon Musk Unveiled, The Tesla Experiment. The film is set to premiere November 16th at the IDFA Documentary Festival in Amsterdam. Variety will produce the first of 3 digital dailies out of the IDFA starting on Friday. Before we go, congrats to Jordan Lichtman. He's joined Media Capital Technologies as Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel. MCT is the parent company of startup distributor Row-K Entertainment, Eli Roth's The Horror Section, and more. Lichtman was most recently general counsel for Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's Artists Equity. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Daniel D'Addario, Marc Malkin, and Todd Longwell. Sticks, Nicks, Hick, Picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.